Story 1. The Mirror of Hollow Ridge. I've lived in this ramshackle house on Hollow Ridge, West Virginia for 20 years. A sagging pile of boards and memories, bought cheap after my dad drank himself gone. Just me and the coal dust wind rattling the hills. The mirror hung in the parlor, big, ornate, silver-framed tarnished black. A hand-me-down from my grandmother I'd dragged from the barn 5 summers back. Its glass cloudy but deep, catching light in ways that made my reflection look older, stranger. One night, I was nursing a beer, TV buzzing, moths thumping the screen door. When I glanced at it, saw not me, but him, gaunt, eyeless, skin gray as ash, standing where I sat, mouth moving slow, no sound, just a stare that drilled my spine. I jolted, bottle clinking, chair scraping, spun around, saw nothing, just the couch and dust. But the mirror held him still, lips curling now, a grin too wide, fingers pressing the glass, smudging it from inside, whispering my name, Eddie, faint as a breeze. Next day, I covered it, tarp from the shed, nails hammered deep, heard it, a tap, then a scrape, like nails on slate, saw the tarp bulge, a shape pushing out, slow, deliberate, a voice humming low. Look at me, through the fabric, cold and close. Night fell, taps turned to bangs loud, peeked under, saw him, closer, eyeless sockets wet. You see me now. Mirror shaking, my face in his, splitting open, teeth jagged, growing, my hands trembling as I dropped the tarp. Breath fogging fast. I smashed it, crowbar swinging, glass shattering into 1,000 glints. Swept it up, burned it in the yard, woke to find shards in my boots. Reflecting me, eyeless, grinning, cuts on my palms I didn't make. Blood drying slow and dark. Called my sister, June, sharp, lives in town. Drove over, shaky, showed her. She frowned, said Grandma talked of a man in the mirror. Before, she died in '79, locked it away after Uncle Pete vanished, staring at his reflection too long. Days blurred. Tapping returned, softer. Found mirrors everywhere, small ones, in drawers, under the sink, all showing him, pressing closer, my name, louder. Eddie, look! House creaking, shadows bending wrong, my reflection fading into his each time I passed. Fled, new place, 60 miles east, a trailer. But last week, a mirror hung in my hall, same frame, same gray face, banging hard, his, voice clear, you brought me, cuts spreading up my arms, waiting for me to meet his eyes again. Story 2. The Shadow of Mill Creek. I've called this double wide in Mill Creek, Arkansas, home for a decade. A tin box on cinder blocks, parked by a creek that stinks of mud. Just me and the quiet after the sawmill let me go. A place to lick wounds and smoke my days away. My shadow was a constant, thrown by the kitchen bulb, long and lean across the linoleum, moving with me as I paced. A dark echo I'd never questioned, until last Thursday when the power flickered and the air turned thick with damp. I lit a cigarette, match flaring, dusk settling, saw it shift. Not with me, stretching tall, arms twisting, head tilting sharp when I stood still, a rasp humming low from the floor, like gravel grinding under a boot, my name, Troy, in its hiss. I swung around, nothing there, bulb steady, checked again, saw it wave, slow, fingers curling too long, peeling off the wall, pooling black under the table, sliding toward me, cold and slick, a chuckle bubbling up, deep and wrong. Next night, I waited, shotgun loaded, light blazing, saw it rise, slither down, stretch across the room, my voice, stay here, echoing from the dark, shadow wrapping the chair, brushing my legs, heavy, pulling like wet rope against my skin. I fired, shotgun roaring, wall splintering. Shadow vanished, silence ringing, but woke with it on my bed, grinning down, my face in its black, arms long, coiling my throat, a rasp. You're mine. Fading as I thrashed awake, neck bruised purple. Called my buddy, Hank, welder, gruff, met him, frantic, showed the marks. He paled, said the creek took shapes in 92, a kid drowned, left shadows folks swore moved alone, burned their trailer to stop it spreading, burned the bulb, fire flaring, shadow gone, moved to a shack. But last night, my shadow waved again, darker, taller, pooling under my cot, whispering, Troy, come back, from walls I thought I'd claimed as home. Story 3. The Door at Pine Hollow. I've owned this ranch house in Pine Hollow, Montana for 13 years. Cedar planks, a gravel drive, a quiet spot by the woods, just me and my hound, Duke, since the divorce left me hollow, a place to rebuild and forget the noise. The back door was old, pine, weathered, locked tight with a deadbolt I'd never opened, a quirk I shrugged off, figuring it led to a shed long collapsed, until last Friday when the wind howled and Duke growled at the frame. I was sipping coffee, dawn breaking, frost thick, heard it, a knock, slow from the other side, 3 taps, deliberate, a whine slipping through, low, wet, my name, Sam, in a voice I knew, mine, but colder, trapped behind the wood. I froze, Duke barking, tail low, knocked back, got silence, then a thud, heavy, door trembling, my voice again. Let me in, sharper, a shadow darting under the crack, long fingers, scraping, red seeping through the grain. Next day, I braced it, steel bar, bolts deep, heard it louder, bangs shaking the wall, Duke howling, scratches carving my name, deep, wet, a handprint pressing out, stretching the wood thin. You left me, hissed loud. Night fell, thuds wild, relentless. Peeked through a split, saw eyes, mine, wide, hands clawing. I'm still here, door cracking, a damp arm reaching, brushing my face, cold, smelling of earth and rot I couldn't place. I burned it, chainsaw roaring, flames, leaping, woke to it whole, open, Duke gone, wet prints trailing out, my name echoing back, louder, pulling me to the dark beyond the frame I'd never crossed. Called the old owner, Miss Clara, frail, towny, met her, shaky, showed the scratches, she paled, said her son vanished in 85, pounding that door, left tales of something waiting, no one dared unlock. Moved out, new cabin, 70 miles, but my shed door knocks now, my voice wetter, angrier, prints circling my floor, waiting for me to twist the knob and face what's calling. Story 4. The Bed on Stillwater Lane. I've slept in this bungalow on Stillwater Lane, Oklahoma, for 18 years. Red brick, a sagging roof, a quiet corner I claimed after Mom passed. Just me and my cat, Whiskers, tending a garden that barely grows in the clay. The bed was hers, oak frame, springs whining, quilt patched from her hands, a dip I'd settled into each night, facing the window where the plains stretched dark, until last month when the storms rolled in and the air turned heavy. I lay down, thunder rumbling, Whiskers purring, felt it, a sag, slow, beside me, a weight, settling, breath hot, brushing my cheek, a hand sliding under the quilt, cold, pressing my ribs, my voice, Sleep here, from the dark, soft and wrong. I leapt, whiskers hissing, lamp blazing, saw nothing. Felt it again, heavier, fingers tracing my spine. Stay with me, quilt rippling, a shape forming, my shadow but not, sinking deeper into the mattress each time I moved. Next night, I checked, tore it apart, found cuts deep under the frame, woke with welts on my back. No memory of thrashing, just that breath, closer, a weight pinning me, whispering, "Don't leave," in my ear, damp now. Slept in the den, couch hard, lights on. Heard it, creaks, bed dragging, thumping slow down. The hall stopping by me, sheets soaked, my voice louder. Lie down, cat gone, paw prints wet on the floor, circling back. Sold it, hauled it off. Frame splintered, got a new one, but woke last week. Old bed back, heavier, hands gripping me, my face in the dark, eyeless, grinning, quilt wrapping my throat, tighter each. Night I fought, called my aunt, Doris, chatty, old, met her, frantic, showed the welts. She froze, said Mom heard whispers in '88, blamed the bed, died pale, clawing sheets no one saw move, fled, new house, 80 miles, but my futon shakes now, breath on my neck. The old bed's creak growing, hands colder, waiting for me to drift off again and stay. Story 5. The Wardrobe at Dawn's Edge. I've rented this cottage at Dawn's Edge, Wisconsin for 9 years. Stone walls, a pitched roof, a quiet spot by the lake, just me and my dog Scout, after the warehouse cut me loose, a place to fish, and forget the grind. The wardrobe stood in the bedroom. Walnut, massive, doors warped. Came with the lease, stuffed with old coats I'd meant to toss. A hulking shadow I'd ignored, until 3 weeks ago when the frost hit and the lake went. Still, I passed it. Twilight fading, Scout snoring, heard it. A thud, low, from inside, doors rattling, a shape stretching tall behind the crack, swaying slow, too big, a hiss leaking out. Look inside, my name, Jake, in its rasp, sharp. I yanked it open, coat swaying, stale, heard it again, louder. Come closer, door slamming, lock clicking, cold seeping out, thick, a shadow pooling on the floor, brushing my boots, heavy as mud and twice as dark. Next day I pried it, axe bending, wood groaning, found carvings, deep on the back, woke with splinters in my hands, no memory of touching, just that hiss, nearer, a thud waking me, doors ajar, coats swaying like they'd been worn. Night fell, thud steady, pounding, peeked in, saw it, me, twisted, eyeless, hanging among the coats. Step inside, wardrobe trembling, doors bowing, a hand reaching, cold, gripping my wrist, pulling slow and sure, burned it, gasoline roaring, walnut cracking, woke to it back, whole, open, coats gone, my shadow inside, stretching, whispering, home, louder, Scout gone, paw prints circling my bed, wet with lake water I didn't spill. Called the landlord, Mr. Tate, curt, old, met him, frantic, showed the carvings. He paled, said the last tenant fled in '06, screaming of something in the closet, that took his wife, left it locked since. Moved out, new rental, 40 miles. But my dresser creaks now, walnut scent drifting, that thud echoing, my shadow, taller, calling me back to Dawn's Edge, to step inside again.